Welcome to SVM Hoopin. I'm sports editor Dan Waisner alongside assistant sports editor Christopher Heimerman. And we're talking local basketball. Last week we had our first round of holiday tournaments, and we had 2 champions and another team reach the finals. It was a good first week, Christopher.
Oh, absolutely. You see a couple of teams that, the Prophetstown girls, the Prophets, we've known from the outset, that they were capable of great things this season. And they showed up and they beat a team that, even Don Robinson said that it's not that they don't have any business beating them, but that, anytime that they're going to run into a team with lots of height, they're going to have issues. And they found a way to get past Byron in the finals, actually beating them by 8 points, really playing well down the stretch too. So, tip your hat to the Prophets, winning the polo tournament. And then the Erie boys, we knew Jacob Johnston could score and then score some more. But for them to be able to overcome a 9-point deficit against Eastland in the 4th period and win the West Carroll tournament kind of going away, very impressive for them. So a couple of teams winning some titles in some pretty decent fields too.
When you go back to the Prophetstown girls, they were able to avenge their only loss of the season so far to Oregon in the during pool play.
Yeah.
And it was another nip-tuck game against the Hawks, and it came down to the last shot, and this time the Prophets hit the winner, and that's big for the Prophetstown. Knocking off 2A teams and getting that revenge factor. I know they've got another thought of revenge on their mind going forward with Aquin in the postseason. I saw a couple tweets from some of the girls talking about that earlier last week, but that's a long ways off. Right now, they were able to take care of business from what already happened this season.
Yeah, I think we should get Prophetstown Oregon together every week. I think that would make for great stories every day. And speaking of Aquin, Eastland pushed them a little bit.
Yep.
Eastland gave them a heck of a test as well. That in the Pearl City tournament. So obviously we know what they've got in Sophie Brunner, but we got a couple of teams that could definitely take them down to the wire in a couple months here.
Well, and kind of the cool thing is Oregon, Aquin, Eastland. They'll all be at the Dixon tournament after Christmas. You throw in Rockford Lutheran, Sterling, and a couple other pretty solid programs, and that's going to form out to be a pretty interesting tournament. You got teams from down in 1A all the way up to 3A, and
Boylan.
Yeah, Boylan. Who might be a 4A team. I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So you get a little bit of everybody in that tournament.
Yeah, I like what Luke Ravlin's doing. I think I'm kind of beating a dead horse there. I've been on the record saying that quite a bit, but the way that he said it in the past, a lot of coaches approach their holiday tournament like a placeholder tournament. That we've always hosted a holiday tournament, so we're going to host our holiday tournament. Whoever signs up and comes. Yeah, he wants that to be a marquee event. He wants it to be a destination event. He reached out to me after we read the Sterling shootout preview, and he said, we want some DAP too, and understandably because he wants that to be on that level of the Sterling shootout. So, kudos to him, and it gets his players once again, that sort of caliber of competition, so that when they get in the postseason and they run into a buzzsaw, it won't be the first time that they've seen a team that can, that can beat you in a number of ways.
You talked about Johnson scoring a bunch of points, but I think, you have to bring up what happened Friday night down in Chillicothe. Steven Armaska for the Rock Falls Rockets scoring 43 points, 10 rebounds. He shot 18 for 31. And the surprising part for me about that is, when IVC joined the NCIC a few years ago, back when the NCIC still existed, I had to make the trip to Chillicothe several times for girls and boys basketball, and that just never seemed like a place where the Rock Falls Rockets played very well. So for Armaska to go down there, it's a tough place to play and score like that, and the Rockets pull off, a 7-point win over IVC. That says a lot.
Just a gifted young man. You get the feeling that Steven Armaska can be as good as Steven Armaska wants to be. And we saw in the football season some massive numbers from him in a couple of select games, and so far in the hoop season, he's been one of the. He's been possibly the best thing we've had going in the area so far. And my apologies to Jacob Johnston. Both been perhaps equally impressive, but. Yeah, Steven's a guy who he can put a team on his back. And if, as Brad Pickett said, if the other guys, if they can buy into the fact that if they can get Steven the ball and make him go, yeah, absolutely. It's great to, oftentimes I love the Sterlings of the universe where they could have another kid hit a game-winning shot on every night of the week because they don't have a go-to guy, but having a kid like Steven Armaska who wants the ball, is so incredibly competitive, almost to a fault sometimes. Yeah, talk about a gift for the Rockets.
Well, and that consistency is so important. You get into the big games, and you just know who you want to get that ball to, and you don't have to, hope that that somebody else is going to, step up and make that shot. You know that you can get him the ball, and he's going to do everything he can to put that ball in the hoop. And for the other guys, it takes a lot of pressure off. If he's scoring that many points, those outside shooters don't feel the need to, chuck up as many 3-pointers. And then when they do shoot them and they do make them, it makes it very, very tough on defenses to defend, because you can't double down on Steven if Alex Leaf is hitting 2 or 3 3-pointers, or Eddie Nelson, or whoever you want to bring up out there, Jace Anderson
from midcourt.
Yeah, from midcourt. They can hit it from anywhere on the court. I mean, that makes it very, very tough for defenses to defend.
Yeah, and speaking of big-time performances, switching over, still in the Big Northern, but on the girls' side for Oregon, we say congratulations to Sam Lambertson, Oregon junior, who went over 1,000 points this past weekend. And, she did it. She didn't play early in the season. She's only played a few games so far. You take into account a freshman season, a sophomore season, and just a little bit of her junior season, hitting that 1,000-point mark. I mean, you're talking about averaging almost 20 points a game.
Well, and you look at it, Cassie Riley also she got to 1,000 points last week too. She didn't even realize it until a day or two afterwards, at least according to her tweet. And she's a senior and she's put up a lot of points too. But it took her that extra year to get to 1,000 points. To just think how much production that Lambertson's gotten out of just 2 years plus. To get 1,000 points already, she could end up around 1,700 points before she's done.
Yeah, and whereas we talk about Steven being a go-to guy, you got a couple of go-to young ladies on that Oregon team. I mean, Emmy Wright has been a force. Even Bree Tortolot can get hot. So that's a team where obviously Lambertson, more often than not, is going to take that shot in the clutch. But I think they're blessed with a lot of talented players, and we talked about it last week. They're capable of big things too.
Okay. Another team you kind of wanted to bring up when we were talking in production, the Rock Falls girls have been a little bit of a conundrum this season. I mean, they played okay in the Sauk Valley shootout. They had a couple glimpses where they looked like they were starting to put it together, but then they come out Saturday against Riverdale, who take nothing away from Riverdale, a very solid 2A team, a team that's has a very good chance of winning a regional, and then depending on where they get slotted, could make a run at a sectional. But to lose, I think it was, what did you decide, 71-24, 25, something like that.
71-24, I think.
That's a really surprising score, especially when you consider the leadership of like a Jordan Giddings and a Morgan Mamosher and those girls on that team. They're such competitors. To see them get kind of wallop like that is surprising.
I think they're missing Addie Naylor.
Yeah.
Addie Naylor, never the biggest dog in the fight, but definitely a leader on the floor and somebody who kids will look to when things aren't going well.
Yeah.
Somebody who can kind of turn that tide a little bit. So they're missing her, and again, whereas the Newman Comets football team, a lot of those guys moved into the basketball season and didn't miss a beat. Rock Falls is still gelling and still getting into the hoop season, and you mentioned it during production as well that they're going to have an opportunity coming up to make a statement and show that they're riding the ship, and that's at the State Farm Classic.
Well, and you think about it, is they lost Addie going into the season, who they thought they'd have. Katie Olson was a player they thought would start for them. She played quite a few minutes last year. She went to she's at LaSalle Peru now. You lost Cheyenne Burnett to graduation, who you can't overstate what she did for that team last year. Every time they needed kind of that hustle play, that momentum-changing play, it seemed like Cheyenne Burnett was making it. And I'm just not sure they've, filled those voids yet in terms of, who's going to make that hustle play when you need it, who's going to hit that big three-pointer, and, who's going to kind of be that other role player. I think those girls are on that bench. They just haven't quite fit into those roles yet.
Yeah, hopefully when they're in the spotlight in a couple weeks here, or not even a couple weeks, about 10 days here, hopefully they respond well to it. And we're talking about Bailey Schrader. I know there's a few girls down that bench who are capable of growth, and you look at what Bailey O'Brien did during the volleyball season. So I think there's a lot of upside for the Rock Falls girls, but it would be nice to see them go down to State Farm and come away with a signature victory or two.
Well, they play Oregon Friday night. That'll be a tough test, and it'll be in Oregon at the Blackhawk Center. So it'll be a tough road test. I would think Oregon's probably a little bit better team than Riverdale. Just just my thought. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but they're a deeper team than Riverdale for sure. Riverdale was only dressing 8 girls the other day. So, you know, that's going to be a test. I mean, they're going to get tested in the State Farm and in the Big Northern. So if they don't respond to this kind of defeat, well, it could be a long year in Rock Falls for the girls.
Yeah, a lot of crazy things going on in Rock Falls right now. Stephen Armaska having a great campaign. The wrestling team winning their 2nd title in as many weeks, and we'll get into that if we do the SVM grappling after the turn of the year. But use the SVM Hoopin hashtag. Should be right around here, so on your screen. Hop on Twitter and let us know what you think about the Rock Falls Lady Rockets and what you expect for them going forward. And we'll post some other topics on there and hop in. You know, whether you have bright hopes for a team or if you're a little bit down on your team, let us know what you think. We'll post some subjects. I know Dan will hop on there and join in the conversation.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
See you guys at the games.